Welcome, everybody. Today is February the 20th, 2021, and it's part 4 of our COVID-19 Natural Solutions webinar series. Really pleased to be here with you all. And this is going to be on spiritual health and well-being. Of course, the presentation will be done by Hakim Salim Khan. And this webinar series is hosted in collaboration between the College of Medicine and Healing Arts and the National Incubation Center based in Islamabad, Pakistan. Here are our contact details. And like to give thanks to Mr. Parvez Abbasi Saab. As some of you know, he is a director at the National Incubation Center, and he's been giving an intro and putting his words in and welcoming you in to the last 3 webinars in this series. Today, unfortunately, he couldn't be with us, and we have Numer. Numer is the head of marketing for the NIC, and we're really pleased that today he'll be doing a short welcome and introduction before we get on to the main presentation. Numer, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Hussein. Such a pleasure to be here and to be collaborating with you and your organization, because the work you're doing is very important. We believe 2020 was a tough year, 2021 is challenging, and there have been many questions around immunity, building a strong immune system that can sustain not just COVID, but any disease. Why should we be inflicted upon by disease when we have this profound system that is capable of sustaining itself and healing itself? And I'm just so humbled and proud and honored to introduce Dr. Principal M. Salim Khan, who is just an international authority on natural medicine and especially TIB. And he will share a little more about what that is specifically. But from my understanding, it's a holistic way of looking at the body and healing the immune system and being strong. So M. Salim Khan has been practicing TIB since 1978. He is the director of MohsinHealth Clinic and Products and the principal of the College of Medicine and Healing Arts, both based in Leicester and UK, Leicester, UK. So the College of Medicine Arts and Medicine and Healing Arts is offering degrees that take you on a truly profound journey of self-knowledge, unlocking paths to healing and well-being. You're welcome to check out their website. I will go ahead and share the link in a little while myself. Part 1, we looked at natural medicine and remedies. Part 2, we looked at nutrition and supplements. Part 3 was about lifestyle and personal care. And in part 4, we're going to be looking at one of my all-time favorites, spiritual healing and well-being. We'll be discovering the power of meditation and immune system support for overall health and well-being with Principal M. Salim Khan. I would like to welcome him today and thank him once again from the National Incubation Center, Parvez Abbasi, and the rest of the team. So thank you, Hussein, and thank you, Principal M. Salim Khan. Looking forward to the session today.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء. We're obviously missing Parvez Abbasi Saab, but mashallah, we have Shahzada with us. So wonderful for your contribution, Numer. Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to everyone else who've joined us As it's been said, really, this is the fourth webinar. We started with looking at the remedies and then the lifestyle. And this final session really goes to the heart of the matter, in a sense, that really, inshallah, you'll be getting glimpses into the spiritual dimension of ourselves and how we can keep well, and what interface it has in particular with COVID, and as Nomer said, with all the diseases really, but also how to keep well. Um, so like we did last session, inshallah, I'm going to try and give you plenty of time so we can talk together and deal with the questions as far as possible. Some other things are really that you can now, inshallah, get access to all the resources that Hussein has put together for your information and your convenience. So the way you've registered, if you go back there, then you'll be able to access that. So today, really, I want to start with you know, COVID-19, unfortunately, according to various research and authorities, it is only tip of the iceberg. Unfortunately, we're going to have more and more pandemics, and especially infectious diseases. So we need to take care of ourselves before we're afflicted with these conditions. So this should help us to see, really, unfortunately, there's a lot more of the iceberg underneath the water. And this is not something new, really. Since 1980s, there's been various people, especially in industrialized countries, who have been warning us about the impending crises. And here I give you a few sort of moments to have a look at this slide. While you're looking at that, inshallah, I can speak in Urdu a little bit so that those people who are joining us with Urdu, they can benefit as well. तो जैसे मैंने गुजारिश की है कि ये हमारा आखिरी और चौथा वेबिनार है, तो पहले 3 जो हमने किए हैं उसमें आपको कुदरती अद्वियात और तर्ज ज़िंदगी और इस किस्म की मालूमात दी है कि जिससे आप इंशाल्लाह अपनी सेहत को कायम रख सकते हैं और ये जो वबा इससे बचने का जो तरीक़ाकार है उससे फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं। आज का जो सेशन है इसमें ये है कि भाई हमारी रूहानी ज़िंदगी क्या है और किस तरह उस रूहानी ज़िंदगी की हम देखभाल कर सकते हैं, मगर उसका ताल्लुक अमराज से क्या है। तो ये जो कोविड-19 की वबा आई है, एक्चुअली यानी अफसोस से कहना पड़ता है कि आइंदा ऐसे वबा और ज़्यादा फैलेंगे तो हमें अपनी सेहत का ख्याल करना चाहिए। तो ये जो वबाएँ हैं इनके बारे में बहुत पहले से यानी हमें ख़बर दी गई है कि ऐसे हालात पैदा होंगे। तो देखते हैं हम जा कर के इससे हम कैसे अपने आप को बचा सकते हैं। तो देखिए, इसकी एक वजह तो ये है कि हमारे दरअसल जो रूहानी रिश्ते थे और जो हमारा ओरिजिनल यानी इल्म का निज़ाम था वो तहस-नहस हो गया है। तो खैर मैं इसकी तरफ वापस आऊँगा थोड़ी देर, ज़रा मैं अंग्रेज़ी में बात कर लूँ। तो अल्लाह करीम ने भी हमें बहुत पहले बता दिया था कि इंसानियत जो है उनकी जो तर्ज़ ज़िंदगी और अमाल जब ख़राब हो जाते हैं तो उनके लिए परेशानी और अमराज जो हैं वो ज़्यादा हो जाते हैं। As you can see here that the blessed Quran, the glorious Quran actually warned us about the consequences of way of life and behavior which leads to problems we all know what are the major problems today as a result of lifestyle and behavior. Now, let's see what are the origin of these crises really. And often many of us, especially those of us who are not born into European tradition and cultures, we often seem to not understand the roots of these crises. And really they began with what is known as European Renaissance. I don't want to go into the details of why this European Renaissance came about, but really that is seen as one of the glorious part of the European culture. And yet in a way, most, if not many of our problems span from that fundamental break and change which happened. And it led to this totally materialistic conception of life and humanity. And you can see here, for example, this gentleman is a way of showing that how secularization in specific sense and the development of lifestyle and institutions and every other organization which became the basis for elimination of any higher values and also the spiritual dimension of people for all intent and purposes in our collective lives. As a result, you can see that what actually happened is also our relationship was broken with the earth and the planet, and now we see the consequences of this broken relationship. So in a sense, this fundamental change of paradigm, how things have been understood since the European Renaissance, and now we're in what's called information age, how things have really become upside down. So this is the concept that really, until then, whatever the problems of humanity as a whole were, and obviously there were many problems, but really there was a fundamental link with earlier wisdom-based traditions, and that was broken by the European Renaissance in a clear, explicit way. And these are some of the consequences of this, what we call low-hanging poisonous fruits of this fundamental breakup of the paradigm and ways of life. We can begin to see that as a result of killing God, alienation from God, from self and creation. That's an everyday pattern now, destruction of the various habitats and destruction of the diversity of humanity, and the whole dehumanization of humans. Many of you are aware of, what's happening now. As a result, there's constant and chronic stress and suffering. And in this particular context, the dysfunction of immune system to such a level that any stimuli or stimulation can lead thousands and millions of people into disease and suffering. तो ये जो मैं कह रहा था कि ये जो सनती ज़िंदगी और दौर जदीद है और इसके जो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हैं वो सबके सामने है कि दुनिया के क्या हालात हैं, इंसानों के क्या हालात हैं, सोसाइटी में अमराज की भरमार है और क़ुव्वत मुदाफ़त वगैरह जो है वो तकरीबन ना होने के बराबर है. So this is an interesting concept. You don't often hear it, but really there is almost a constant existential stress and loss of meaning and purpose, especially in so-called rich countries and industrialized countries. That as a result of severing of that relationship with our Creator and our humanity, we have this existential stress. And then there is another dimension, really, that modernity and post-modernity is almost a constant life of stress. And really, there's been a lot of work done on the stress and how it undermines and destroys the immune system, but also the whole fabric of a human being. And you can begin to see through these slides how profound and deep it can be. And this is again another way of looking at various symptoms of stress at various levels in terms of physiology, behavior, and psychology and emotions. And it's very profound. Again, this is a very quick way of looking at what actually stress does. And as I said, many of us are living in constant stress, chronic deep stress, and as a result, these are some of the symptoms and the symptomatology of being in constant stress. And really, this is work from the 50s in Canada, the whole concept of how disease is created. You know, there are 3 stages: alarm stage, which is acute stress, which the human body can manage. And then it goes into the 2nd stage, it becomes deeply ingrained in there. And then the 3rd stage, for which many people becomes the final stage. And really, a lot of the patients we work with are usually in stage 3, almost breakdown of the resistance in the immune system and their coping mechanism. Let's just go back really to जी सो ये तमाम जो दौर जदीद के ज़िंदगी के मसाइल हैं, ख़ासकर इंसानी ताल्लुकात का बिगाड़ना और इंसानी सेहत का बर्बाद होना, तो देखिए हम अपने आप को किस तरह वापस ले जा सकते हैं ताकि हम अपनी ज़िंदगियों में कोई आराम, सुकून और सेहत को कैसे वापस हासिल कर सकते हैं. So this chart will help you to see really that in a way, until that break happened, nearly all human societies saw a human being on a journey. So there was a stage of what we call non-existence, and then really the world of spirits. And because this session is about spiritual health and spiritual well-being, what we need to understand really that the spirit does not die. In a sense, we will live the spiritual dimension of us, the real inner core of us will continue to live. And here right now, we're in this world, or the world, or this contemporary life, but as each person passes on from this worldly life onto what we call intermediate world, and then really the day of judgment, and then the result of how we live this life going into either garden or the fire. Allah protect us from the fire. So really this concept was part of most traditional societies. And let's see how we can reconnect with that heritage of humanity. So this golden chain we need to reconnect with. And really the final kind of revelation in the form of the Prophet ﷺ reminds us really that this is the final message and the final guidelines for the lifestyle, and how this can help us to reconnect. And here is a slide which I think you will find helpful, really, that as you see, Hussein, can we just see the bottom of that? Can we really, no, right, okay, thank you very much. So as you'll see, really the highest level of knowledge is the revealed knowledge, known in Arabic as wahi, followed by ilham and kashf, and then the low level of knowledge, which is sensory knowledge. Modernity and post-modernity only recognizes the bottom part, really. It says that reality really is only that which can be understood by our senses or the instruments that are developed by human beings. And anything of a higher value fundamentally is eliminated from either the civilization or the collective life, or in this case, our discussion is around health and well-being and the tradition of medicines. Modern medicine, for example, has no real cognizance of those three higher levels of knowledge. They basically see human being as a machine, and especially the metaphor of living in a machine age. And some of you, if not most of you, will be familiar with the project of AI and so on, that, massive amount of human talents, energy, and money is being spent on connecting the human being and creating a new human being, really, the postmodern human being. Okay. Again, from the tradition of prophetic medicine and tib medicine, really, we have a concept of Tawheed, which is that there is only one creator, and therefore there is only one creation. And everything really is interrelated and connected with each other. And that's the basis of the higher basis of the Tib tradition and the prophetic medicine. And then really the concept of human being is that the human being contains everything which exists in the greater universe, and therefore human being is a small microcosm and has an intimate relationship with the outer world, and that's important to understand and maintain that if the person's going to stay healthy. And again, in the agency and the blessed life of the Prophet ﷺ, we actually see this being lived out, and therefore the authority of the Prophet ﷺ is also in the domain of health and well-being, whether it is spiritual or whether it is physical or emotional or mental, and therefore they lived a life and they provided a living example and teaching for that. As you saw in the earlier sessions, we'll try and focus a little on the spiritual side for this purposes today. So moving on to our COVID-19 and the spiritual health and well-being. First of all, the human spirit has needs like the human body. In fact, it is the needs of the spirit are more important and more profound. And there is a list here for you to see that really the first one is ibadah, worshipping the divine only, and then the dhikr, or the remembrance of our creator and sustainer. The spirit, like the human body, needs protection and nurturing and care. And then the marifai, understanding our place in the creation. And again, service to the creation, to each other, and to the environment as custodians. And then the idea of meditation or muraqabah is very important. And then finally, returning to fitra, or the natural lifestyle, according to the prophetic model. So again, as you'll see, because we are a microcosm of the macrocosm, really, for our hearts and for our souls to find sustenance and peace, there has to be the constant, if not regular, remembrance to calm the heart and, to lessen the stresses and the agitation. Here is again a way there is, you could call it a spiritual protocol, really, that these are recommended specific actions to be done on a daily basis, twice a day, because this will provide the protection for the individual person's spiritual well-being. And again, this is a way of saying that if we do that, really, then specific malaika angels are appointed for our protection from all sorts of harm, including diseases, because diseases are not only caused by viruses and bacteria and nutritional deficiencies or excesses, but they can also be caused by things which we cannot see, really. Okay, so again, meditation, we were touched upon it. This is really critical that each of us has a way of doing this on a daily basis. And here, really, again, you can begin to see the relaxation response that we need to have this. And this is a little about what the relaxation, the parasympathetic nervous system is really the relaxation response, and it helps to balance and calm things if we do this on a daily and a regular basis. And really, there is tons and tons of research, if we did any contemporary research, that how the relaxation response actually enhances our immune system. And that's why fear and other things which are created, especially with respect to the COVID-19, actually makes us more ill. And again, I want to finish this really presentation before we open up for the questions. Here is one of the companion of the Prophet ﷺ saying, his son asking, "Oh Father, I have heard you supplicating every day. Oh Allah, grant me bodily health and ease. Oh Allah, grant me ease and safety in my power of hearing. Oh Allah, grant me ease and safety in my power of seeing. None is worthy to be worshipped except you." 3 times in the morning and evening. And he says, "Yes, my son, I heard the messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam supplicating with these words in the morning and evening. And I love to act upon the sunnah." So you can begin to see that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually taught their family and their companions not only how to eat and what remedies to use and when to sleep and how to sleep and the exercise element and other dimensions, but really they gave specific instructions and guidelines on the spiritual side of matters and things for both protection, but also to increase health and well-being. So I hope, inshallah, this has helped you to see how holistic this tradition is, the prophetic medicine in particular, and also the tibbin in general, and how we can use this knowledge really to enhance our health and well-being, and also to protect ourselves from various infectious diseases and especially pandemics. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to ask Hussein, inshallah, if he wants to join you, and then we'll open up for the questions. So we have about half an hour so we can talk together and look at what's important for you in terms of the questions. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for listening.
Jazakallah, thank you so much, Hakim Saab. Would you mind going to the next slide so everyone can see, just for those who don't know, all the sessions in this webinar series are recorded and you can get downloadable PDFs. You can just go ahead and go to that link register and you'll get it. If you're already registered, you should have been sent that via email, and we'll send out this session via email to all those who are registered as well. What we're also going to do is we're going to have a feedback form. So really, we want to know your views, what you found beneficial from this webinar series, and perhaps maybe suggestions for improvement. And so if you are on the list, we will be sending out a feedback form. And please, we do request you, it'll take you about 10 minutes. Just fill that out, and it'll really help us to know what was good about the sessions and what you benefited from. And perhaps if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with us on how we can improve, you're more than welcome to share those. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to open up the chat box, and as usual, if you have questions relating to today's topic on spiritual health and well-being in the context of COVID-19 natural solutions, we'll be prioritizing those questions. But of course, if you have any other questions from the previous sessions, feel free to ask those as well. And so the chat is now open, and please feel free to post your questions in there. Okay, so already got one question in. Few questions in. Okay. So Amina Malik is asking, Assalamu alaikum, what is the sunnah that Hakim Saab said if we do correctly, that there is a lot of healing in it? Is there a specific sunnah you mentioned, Hakim Saab, or were you saying acting on the sunnah in general?
I was referring to the sunnah in general, really. There are many sunnahs which we can adopt and benefit, both in terms of our spiritual protection and growth and development for here and hereafter, but also specifically in terms of improving our health and well-being. For example, the sunnah of washing the hands before eating is a very well-known sunnah, and do we really follow it regularly? And then, washing the hands before we eat, but not drying them, for example, but after we finish our meal, and then washing the hands and cleaning our mouth and then drying the hands. I mean, you can begin to see how much wisdom there is in the sunnah, and there are so many other sunnahs that we can use in order to keep healthy and prevent diseases. So I meant a whole range of prescribed sunnahs.
Jazakallah Hakim Saab. Safiya is asking, can you explain muraqabah further, or how you meditate, or for how long?
Right. Again, like many practices, you will need to really have an instructor, a guide, or a person, or a teacher. But in general, the concept of muraqabah is very easy. You allocate on a daily basis, once or twice a day, 10 to 20 minutes in which you are not disturbed, you are safe and warm, and then really you try and switch out from the hustle and bustle of all the responsibilities that the person has, and then you begin to focus inward really, and you can use various postures to help you. You can use visualization to help you, and that in itself is very beneficial at all sorts of level. Let me just say through you really that we've actually included a list of resources for you. They will be sent to you today. So we have given you resources. So on Muraqabah, we've actually shared with you a particular website that you will find very helpful, because the Muraqabah, bit like anything else really, you need a guide and a teacher. because muraqabah at one level is about relaxation, but at another level, it's about spiritual enhancement, and it depends what level you want to be at and are at and where you want to go. So you really will need a guide, a trusted guide, and a competent guide, and a person who can help you with that. So really, this is something you will need to look into, and then hopefully you will go from there, inshallah.
Thank you, Hakim Salim. Ahmed is asking, and this is a long question, so I'll read it out in full. He says, I recently engaged in a conversation about allopathic versus traditional medicine with someone, and he's in denial that there is a health crisis because, according to statistics, people were more sick centuries ago. So modernity is doing quite well with non-communicative diseases. He also mentioned that there is no such thing as strengthening or boosting the immune system, as he specifically takes medicine to weaken his immune system so it doesn't kill him. This isn't what I've been taught. I later found out that he works for a pharmaceutical company, so no surprise as to why he holds these opinions. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, mashallah, it's a long question. So look, let's just try and understand some aspects of the question. So the first thing is that let us go back to the scriptures and ask ourselves that what was the age of the earlier humanity, such as Adam alayhi salam and his children? If we go to the Quran for guidance on that, what does it tell us? And if we go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what do they inform us of the ages they lived to? Those first few generations of human beings who came to planet Earth. If we go to the Christian scriptures, we also have information about the ages of those people. If we go to the Jewish tradition, we also have information about those earlier humans and their lifestyle and their lifespan and the kind of nature of the diseases. If we go actually into Ayurvedic tradition and how it talks about earlier human beings and what longevity and strength they had, and if we look at contemporary research 100 years ago on physical degeneration and human beings, it's consistently seen that really with time, the human health is deteriorating. This narrative, which I've just shared with you, is an international human narrative based on scriptures and human history. The modernity project after the European Renaissance has tried to create a different narrative about the situation, and really it is not an accurate narrative. So for those people who are interested, they can look into this. Now, the other parts really about immunity is that so-called modern medicine or so-called modern science, when did they find out about the concept of immunity? Not very long ago. Whereas the idea of the immunity and quwwat-e mutabra badan is found in earlier tradition, which we discussed in our first webinar, and it's been there for 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years, and it's found in Chinese tradition, Indian tradition, classical Greece tradition, Muslim Islamic tradition. So I hope that helps really, that we have to do our own research, and as I said, we have to connect with the golden chain. And once you reconnect with the human heritage through the prophethood and the people who continue their work, you'll find really that the current healthcare system is off kilter. Okay, thank you very much. The next question is.
Thank you, Hakim. So next question is about hijama. So the question is hijama recommended for melancholics and phlegmatics, as some individuals are saying cold temperaments should avoid it? Personally, I have felt the benefits of hijama, this person's saying.
Well, mashallah, if they felt the benefit of the hijama, then obviously it was the right remedy or approach or technique for them. So Bismillah, if that is the case, then that's fine. Regards who the hijama is suitable for, really any good training of hijama would look at those issues and discuss them in detail. So it's not about whether it is suitable for melancholics or not. Generally, the practitioner, the experienced person who is doing hijama ought to know what temperament it is most suitable for and what temperament it is least suitable, and which individual it might not be suitable for, not only the temperamental reason, but also for other healthcare reasons. So really, this is an individualized approach, and I don't want to go into it too much because any trained hijama practitioner will need to take into consideration many factors. So it's not an industrial medicine. That's the difference between an industrial approach to medicine and an individualized, personalized approach to medicine, which is really based on the individual before the practitioner, their needs at that time, and their lifestyle and their strengths and weaknesses. So it's an individual matter between that person and the practitioner.
Thank you, Hakim Salim. Next question, Numair is asking, how important is breath work in your opinion, sir?
Breath work, did you say?
Breath work, yeah, as in breathing.
Very important, really. Things to do with breathing are very important, whether they be the regular walking, exercise, some meditational schools of thought include breath work, and there's all sorts of range of skills that one needs for breath work, but breath is very important. One meaning of spirit or ruh is breath. So breath is critical. And obviously, you know, when we die, we take our final breaths. So breath is very important.
Jazakallah, thank you, Hakim Salim. Ashraf is asking, referring back to session 1, which tea is better, olive tea or green tea?
Again, it depends, you know, if we're comparing the two, what is the reason? Sometimes the green tea is better and sometimes the olive tea is better. It depends what is the objectives that we want to achieve from a particular tea. But if we're talking about prevention and management of COVID-19, which has really been our focus, then olive tea is much better, many times better than green tea for that purposes. Olive leaf tea.
Thank you, Hakim Salim. There's one question by Annette. She's asking about like leather socks. From the looks of it, I don't know if she's asking about health or the fiqh of the leather socks. But what I suggest is, Anna, if you actually email us, because I'm not sure if we're able to actually answer that question, if you know it's our department or not. Okay. Bismillah is asking, what is the best type of water to consume? Should we buy mineral water or is tap water okay?
Again, a very complicated subject. Obviously, it depends where the person is living. You know, some tap waters might be okay, others are filled with all sorts of legal toxins, for often which we pay for. If it's possible in terms of one's energy and economics, and you have access to better quality water, then that's probably a better option. Again, it depends where the person is. In some countries, if you are fortunate, you can have your own source of water in your own house, which is not from the municipal tap, and that would be the best solution. And this again is something that you have to look into it. Um, if you have time and energy and you can afford to buy the better quality water, then it is worth it really. Or you can buy some purification equipment, from very simple to very complicated, to purify the water in your home.
Thank you, Hakim Saab. Safa is repeating a question. It seems like, she really wants an answer to this, but the question is just about pain in bones and muscles. I think we have mentioned before that if you have any particular health needs, like you individually, there's not a whole lot we can answer in a setting like this. And so if you can reach out to a qualified health practitioner, really that is what you would need to do. So that's the answer really to that. Hakim Saab, would you like to
Sorry, can I just add that the resources list which you're going to receive will actually have a couple of websites for example, it will have the details of the Guild of Unani Medicine in UK and its chapter in America. And for really those issues, you'll need to consult an appropriately qualified and experienced person, and maybe those are the those websites might be something that you go to and look at it.
Thank you, Hakim Saab. Fiza is asking, is Acacia honey good for individuals with allergies? And also how to check if honey is pure?
Right. So, two questions in one, really. The best honeys for allergies are usually the local honeys. So, depends where you're from. The best thing would be to get in touch with the local beekeeper, and, if possible, buy your honey from that individual, because that's the most economical, sustainable, and effective in terms of allergies. Now, whether acacia honey then is the right one for you, I'm not sure. So, if you're living in England, then really there's not much acacia around here. So, it depends where you're from. As to how you check really the honey, whether it's the best honey, the first thing really is that you need to buy from a source or a person that's trustworthy. You can even go and see those people if they're near you, and see how they keep their bees and where they keep their bees, and how they take the honey. There are obviously some other ways of knowing which is the best honey, but be aware that nowadays the technology or the chemistry is such that actually artificial honey is produced in many hundreds, if not thousands of tons, and sold as a honey. So it's a difficult situation. You have to go to the source, maybe go to the beekeeper, um, and buy from them really, or keep your own bees really. You can do a day or a 2-day course on beekeeping if you're in England, and I'm sure with the spring coming, there'll be many courses. And inshallah, you can keep your own bees. For example, we know people in Leicester and Leicestershire who are beekeepers, and we do buy honeys from them. So that's probably the easiest option, to go and see a beekeeper. And if you really want to, you can study a beekeeping course. Uh, so I hope that helps, inshallah.
Thank you, Hakim Saab. One question in from Facebook, Amimul Ehsan is asking about black seed that we buy from the shop. Do we need to heat it up or can we consume it directly?
Okay, so obviously the first thing is that you need to be aware that you need to buy the real black seed and not the onion seed. And having bought the right black seed, kalwanji or habbatus sauda, there's no need really to heat up the seeds. Again, you can just take them as they are, or you can grind them in a mortar or pestle, or you can grind them gently in a coffee grinder, and you can use that as a powder on its own, or with warm water, or with honey, or with any other appropriate combination. There's no need to heat it up, because often heating destroys various elements, especially in herbs and spices.
Thank you, Hakim Saab. Somebody's asking, what are the most beneficial types of foods that should be taken for breakfast? And should we avoid cornflakes?
Right. The beneficial types of foods for breakfast. Again, it depends where you are and what time of the year it is, and really what's your own health and health status, or your health situation, or if you're caring for a family, who are the people that you're providing the breakfast for. But generally, in winter, for example, as it is winter here in England, it's better to use foods which are warm in temperature and energetics, and can be freshly made and easily made. So obviously, porridge is one thing. Many different types of porridges. Uh, Talbina is a form of porridge. Oats is a form of porridge. So porridges are very good. Um, Again, you can use whole range of things. If you're not allergic to wheat, then you can make things from the wheat. Uh, so there's a number of things really. Again, there are many good cereals which aren't necessarily full of sugar. Um, so it's better to avoid sugar really if you can, especially at breakfast. And then there's a whole range of nuts you can use in different ways. In the morning for breakfast, you need a combination of some protein and some carbs. So really, it's important to combine those. You can use wholemeal breads. There's many different kinds of breads. Again, rye bread is something which is very nourishing and good, especially for people who suffer with weight issues. Rye bread is very good. So there's so many choices we have nowadays in terms of breakfast.
Jazakallah, Hakim Saab. Some follow-up questions. Before that, there's a question about recommending good vitamin and mineral producers, especially natural produce. I think Hakim Saab mentioned earlier, there is a resources list. This is a question from Shahid in Swindon. Yeah, so we'll make sure that that gets to you. So we'll definitely make sure that that gets to you. And if you have any trouble finding it, you can reach out separately. But it's definitely there. It's been emailed to you, and it's also on the registration page once you register. So I'm sure you'll find it. Okay, a couple of follow questions on the honey and the water. So with the honey, somebody's asking that guide us on, where we might be able to buy honey from, as many claim that they're selling raw organic honey. The other thing is, interesting question about honey. Again, it's a bit more detailed. I'm not sure if this is something we can address, but Ahmed is asking, around 1970s, bees might have been affected by a mite first found in the Java Islands and spread worldwide. With this said, has the quality of honey decreased even if beekeepers do not dilute the honey with sugar?
Well, I think this is a very technical question, so I'm not sure really. I don't know about it, to be honest. The questions about honey are very important because honey is one of the amazing food and medicine, and bees are very important. Our Muslim listeners and viewers will obviously know that there is a whole chapter devoted to the bee, and we shared in the earlier webinar the importance of honey for both keeping healthy and for dealing with diseases. So it's a complex subject, but really the best thing, as I keep saying, is that, go and find out if you've got a local, if you have local beekeepers, and get in touch with them, and, they'll be able to help you. It's not such a difficult issue if you go to the sources. And again, it's easy really. If you are in England, beekeeping is very common. You'll find them even in the cities. So I hope that helps really.
Thank you, Hakim Salim. The other thing is Sharjil Zeb is asking, following on to the water question someone asked earlier, would you happen to be able to comment on distilled water? So distilled water, whether it is good for the body or actually depleting the body from essential minerals?
In some cases, distilled water is useful and necessary depending on the person and their health status. But yes, if you use distilled water permanently, then of course it will take away some of the minerals. But again, it depends on your situation and what your needs are. So it would need to be looked into really.
Thank you. There's more questions about water, but I think we'll take somebody different question. Therese is asking about eating and drinking and her temperament. So if I have excessive heat in my body and need to eat cooling foods and herbs, how do I in the winter? Should I focus on eating cooling food or should I eat some warming as well? And then there's a follow-up, which is also if I'm cooking a cooling dish, can I have heating spices as long as the total sum of the food is cooling?
Yeah, again, it's a complicated question. There are many areas to it, but really, again, it will depend on the person who's asking the question, their need really, how hot they are. Hot can be from 1 to 4 degrees. So that will depend. And also the idea of actually using spices and herbs in order to balance the food and using it in that sense, I think is a good idea. But again, the idea of temperament is very simple, but it's very deep and profound. And again, I think the resources which we can offer you will guide you towards that. And maybe you can have a consultation with one of the practitioners in the Unani Guild, and they might be able to guide you further. Okay.
Thank you, Hakim Salim. Okay, some more questions coming in. The person who asked about where can they get the honey from and acacia honey, they actually live in Pakistan. That's why they were asking about the acacia.
Acacia, yeah?
Yeah.
Again, yeah. If they send us an email, where in Pakistan, Pakistan is a big country. Maybe we have some source where we can put them in touch and, they can access. Acacia tree is very common in certain areas in Pakistan, but it depends where they are. And, so they can get in touch with yourself, Hussein, and, we can guide them then, inshallah.
Yeah. Fiza, if you actually send it to us on the email address, that way it will get picked up. Someone's asking, is Kalunji Nigella seed same as black seed? Yes, it is. You obviously the full information about that, like I said, all the recordings are available and the handout, so it'll give you the technical name for all of the herbal remedies which we have shared. We're actually to the end of the questions, Hakim Saab. Is there anything, and it's just the top of the hour as well.
Okay, so I suppose what we can do, we want to thank people for taking the time and joining us. And, we hope and pray that inshallah you benefited. Please, if you benefited from these webinars, either one or all of them, share them with your networks and, help them to benefit from it. If you found any problem or issues, we didn't do the job that we were supposed to do, then please come back to us, give us some feedback so we can improve our contribution next time. And inshallah, look after yourself and your family and your loved ones, and pray for us, and God bless you. And I think we're gonna hand it over to Umair Shahzada, inshallah, so he can conclude for us this final session. And again, I want to thank Parvez Abbasi Saab and his team for really helping us to share this life-saving information. And I particularly want to thank you, Hussein, for putting so much work into this, mashallah. So Jazakallah khair to everyone, and thank you for joining us. And please, as I said, if you benefited, then share. And if you found us wanting in anything, then in a constructive way, come back to us, share with us your valuable feedback. And if you have any other ideas that we can do these webinars for you and your family in future, then, give us the ideas, and inshallah we'll look into it. And there's been many, many questions from the first to this session, and obviously we will try and answer as many as we can in due course, and we will put them up on the COVID-19 natural solution resources. So please come back to them occasionally. So Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hakim Saab. There's such a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure when you're sharing all this information, you're just thinking, there's just so much I want to tell you. And honestly, there's not enough time on a webinar. So everyone here, I would recommend, please visit the website. I shared the link as well, comha.org.uk. There are several diplomas available on this website. There is a temperaments for health and well-being for £50, a little course that you can use to really find what it is that you need, because I'm sure you got a hint from Hakim Saab's words that everyone is so unique and everyone needs a unique set of this and that to help them find the true path to good immunity. And with that comes all kinds of benefits. You have less pains in your body, you have more creative thinking ability, you're more patient, more kind, more energy. So overall, if your body's just everything's working well, then you have less problems. And longevity. For me as well, longevity is something that I value, because doing justice to this vessel and the gift that we've been given, and not putting it through a toll that it doesn't require. So the training and education provided by the College of Medicine and Healing Arts is the most authentic training of TIB that you will find. It's framed in traditional practices and incorporates modern knowledge and skill. The diploma programs, I should mention, are accredited by the Guild of Unani TIB. So this could even lead to you getting a professional diploma, which makes you eligible to join the TGU and obtain a practitioner's license. So if that's something you're interested in, if something that is close to your heart, then you can pursue it further. And like Hakim Saab said, the golden chain, we need to reconnect with it. So what a wonderful session. And for us here in Pakistan, I'm so grateful to Hussein and Hakim Saab and everyone else involved in your organization for wanting to bring this wisdom here. And I look forward to many more such interactive sessions and And I encourage the participants to also share ideas. There is a contact form on the website. I'm sure Hussein will also be sharing some information, which means there'll be an email address you can reply to. So let's have some ideas and let's see how we can collectively grow as a race and improve our health collectively and the health of the planet, right? Taking us all to a good place and all moving in the direction of light. Thank you so much, Hussein and Hakim Saab, once again, from us at the NIC and Pervez Saab and the rest of the team. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hussein, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks a lot, everyone.